Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
I think
Waalaikumsalam.
okay. Alright, tonight will be our last class or last lecture lah, practically, because next week I have allocate you one day to discuss on your group assignment. So today will be our last lecture, which we are going to focus on the topic of sources of finance. But before we start, let's recap what we have learned last week. Okay, basically last week we have discussed about how we could prepare a budget by looking at the sum of the elements that we need to consider, okay, including sales budget, production budget, raw materials and purchasing budget, labor budget, and also cash budget, and also other budgets, if any. And we also have identified 4 steps that we need to carry out in planning a budget for a project, namely define the project, create a work plan, and then calculate the cost and also tracking a project. Okay, that's the steps that we need to follow in order to plan a budget for the project. And finally, last week we have a look on how to effectively develop a budget, as well as how to effectively implement the budget as well. Okay, so that's what we have discussed last week. So today we are going to focus on sources of finance. Alright. So firstly, we will have a brief introduction, especially on the factors that we need to consider in selecting a suitable sources of finance for our business or project. So it's either we want to use short-term or long-term source of finance. There are a few factors that we need to consider. And then we will discover 2 main types of source of finance, which are short-term and also long-term. So basically there are 3 types, all right, theoretically, okay, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. But in practically, in real world, basically we only use or refer as short-term and long-term lah, because medium-term is in the middle. It's as some sort like conflict of identity lah. Some people will consider it as a short-term, and some people will consider it as a long-term. The difference is only the duration lah, right? And then finally, we're going to learn about hedging principles lah. So what is hedging principle? We are going to have a look at the end of today's lecture. So as an introduction, when making business decision, managers need financial information in order to identify the sources of funding and method of funding a project. Okay, so again, it's not easy to make a certain decision, especially in business, because if you make a wrong decision, it will give a negative impact to your business lah. So in order to make a decision, as a manager, you need any relevant financial information lah, so that you can assess or you can evaluate which source of funding that are suitable for your business or project. Okay, wait ada your friend nak join. Okay, yeah. So again, when you have identified the available source of funding or source of finance for your business or for your projects, then you need to select which one is the most suitable source of finance that you can use for your business or organization or projects. So in order to select the suitable sources of finance, you have to consider a few factors. Okay, among the factors, the first one is you have to look on the specific use. Okay, so means that a business should match the source of finance to its specific use. Okay, in practice, this means that a business should secure long-term source of finance for long-term needs or users, and for more short-term finance for immediate needs. So means that if you have a short-term target, you need to use short-term finance. If you want to achieve a long-term objective or long-term target, you need to use long-term social finance. Okay, that's the rule of thumb in business. Okay, you cannot mix around. Okay, you want to achieve a short-term target, you use long-term social finance. Okay, it's not work like that. Okay, theoretically, right? It should be based on specific use, short-term for short-term, long-term for long-term. That's the first factors that you need to consider. Second one is the cost of the source lah. Okay, this is a basic one lah. You need to investigate in terms of course when you're talking about social finance, you need to consider, especially when you are looking at bank loan. Alright, so of course there will be interest on it. So you have to study the interest. Is it fixed rate or is it depends on daily basis? Okay, so you have to have a look on the cost of the source as well. And then you have to have a look on the impact of the new funding would have on the organization current financial structure. Okay, for example, as in business, usually we have a balance sheet. For example, if we obtain a new source of funding or source of finance, what is the impact towards our balance sheet? Is it give us a burden, or is it will give a benefits in the long run? So that's the thing that you need to consider. And then, of course, organization objective. All right, so you have to have a look on the organization objective, whereby some organizations are very ambitious. Perhaps as a contractor, for example, you have a certain target for the next 10 years. You want to venture abroad. You want to become an international company, for example. So in that case, perhaps you need a lot of social finance in order to achieve your objective. So you have to have a look on your organization objective. And of course, flexibility. All right. In terms of flexibility, for example, like you need to have a look on how easy for you to switch from one form of funding to another. How flexible your finance is. Okay. Perhaps certain loans they have a maturity period. Okay, you cannot negotiate after 5 years. You need to wait for 5 years to negotiate if you want to make a full repayment, or you want to prolong the duration of the loan, or etc. So you have to have a look on the flexibility of the loan. If the loan is have a maturity period, for example, perhaps it's quite difficult for you to investigate or to negotiate with your bank if you want to refinance your loan, for example. And type of business structure, right? So it's also important. Okay, for example, if your company is a sole trader, if your company is a partnership, if your company is Sdn Bhd enterprise, and so on. So different type of business will need different source of funding, source of finance. And finally, of course, is the external environment. All right. In terms of external environment, we are talking about the current state of the economy. Okay, the current condition of the economy in terms of demand and supply, the consumer trends. All right. So you have to investigate if there is a high level of demand. Perhaps you can obtain more sources of finance in order to fulfill the demand. But if less demand, perhaps you don't need to have a new source of funding or finance in your business. Okay, so that's the thing that you need to consider lah. Okay, when you are talking about selecting the suitable source of finance for your business or for your project. Okay, source of finance is not only important for you to run business lah. Okay, so basically source of finance also is important for you to save your business. Okay, it's not only for you to expand your business, to run your business. It's also very useful for you to save your business as well. Okay, perhaps with the current situation, you need source of finance in order to save your business lah. Okay, that's the important aspect of having a source of finance in your business. Alright, basically there are three activities constitute the main contributors to financial analysis, okay, which are financial management, management accounting, and also financial accounting. Okay, these three activities will play a part in analyzing your financial capabilities, financial capacities of your business or for your organization. Okay, the first contributor is financial management. Okay, each contributors have their own role. Okay, they have their own role. Okay, so for example, like financial management, the main role of financial management activities or department itself is aiming to raise funds is more suitable and economical manner. Okay, so they are focusing on how they can raise the funding. Okay, and they also have a function or role to guide investment and also to maintain what we call it as a liquidity. Okay, liquidity is a very important aspect in business lah. Okay, liquidity is an asset that you can convert into cash within a short period of time. Okay, with that, ada friend. As I mentioned, liquidity is an important aspect of business. Okay, you need to have a lot of asset that you can convert into cash within a short period of time. Let's say less than a year. So because if you have a good liquidity level in your business, anything happen in your business, you can convert your liquidity asset into cash and you can use that money for other purposes. Okay, so in this case, this is the among the roles of financial management. Okay, they need to look at how they can increase the level of liquidity in terms of asset in the business or in the organization. Okay, so again, here we are talking about source of finance lah. Alright, so when we are talking about ways of funding, we are talking about the availability of sources of finance that we can choose in for our business, for our projects. Okay, second, again, source of finance, we are talking about short-term and long-term source of finance. Okay, the next activities is management accounting. Okay, here the main role of management accounting is to assist manager in planning, decision making, and control the firm's activities. Okay, so in order to control the firm's activities, it will base on the sources of finance that we have. In other words, the amount of money that we have. Okay, from there, the management accounting will control our activities. Okay, where the money can be spent, where we need to invest, what we need to buy, and etc. Okay, and the last activity is about financial accounting. Okay, in terms of financial accounting, the aims is to record and report on the financial transaction of the firms. So means that you have to record and report everything, money ins, money outs. So when you have a proper record and when you have a proper report, it's easy for you to make a decision making in the future. Okay, so you can track where the money goes, where the money has been spent, and etc. Okay, so that's the common activities involved when talking about financial analysis lah. Okay, here I would like to touch a little bit on the source of finance for construction firm before we go into detail about the types of sources of finance that we have in terms of short term and also long term. Alright, as a firm in the construction industry, like any other sector of the economy, must source for funds to carry out their activities from the cheapest source lah. Okay, of course, any firms, not only from construction industry, from any business, from any industry, of course, we are looking for the cheapest sources of finance in order to fund for our project or for our organization. So firms that engage in construction project will usually find there is a lag between the execution of work and time a payment is met. Okay, this is a common problem faced by most of the construction firms, especially contractors. Okay, because majority of contractors in Malaysia are SME. Okay, if you for information based on the statistic given by CIDB, okay, as has been included in the report under CITP, Construction Industry Transformation Program, there are about 90% of contractor in Malaysia are SMEs. Okay, 90%. Okay, and only 10% being considered as large companies lah, G6, G7. Alright, other than that is SME. And of course, most of the contractors will rely on the claim money when they run a project. Okay, so of course, when you rely on the claim money, once the claim money is quite late to be received, you will get a problem. Okay, you cannot pay your suppliers, you cannot pay your workers' salaries, and etc. So that's the common problem in the construction industry. They therefore have to use their own funds before the client or the project makes a payment. Okay, a project cannot proceed without adequate financing, and the cost of providing adequate financing can be quite large. Okay, finance is also of concern to other parties involved in the construction, like the suppliers of materials and equipment, as I mentioned earlier lah. Okay, if the contractor is too reliant on the claim money, they will face problems lah if the payment is quite late, not on time, and etc. Wait no? Give me 2 minutes. Yeah, sorry, ada iklan. Anak tengah tuition. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if the contractors rely on the claim money, it will be problematic lah in the future. Okay, you are going to find it difficult to pay your suppliers, to pay your workers when the payment is late. Okay, now we are going to move on in details about sources of finance. Okay, the first type is short-term finance. Okay, so in definition, short-term finance is a funds available for a period of 1 year or less. Is called or are called short-term finance lah. Okay, so the difference between the type of source of finance is either short-term or long-term is duration. Okay, of course, short-term is already obvious lah. Okay, it's 1 year or less. We can consider it as short-term finance. Okay, there are many types of short-term finance, but here I will show you a few examples. Okay, bank overdraft, bank loan, trade credit, and also debt factoring. So we are going to explore one by one. Okay, the first one is bank overdraft. Alright, so bank overdraft is basically the bank finance the short-term needs of businesses by providing short-term monies called overdraft. Okay, so an overdraft is repayable on demand and should be used for short-term funding needs, such as when a business is waiting for customers to pay, when it needs to pay suppliers upfront, or when staff have to be paid. When business find they are spending very quickly due to a successful sales drive, they may well find their overdraft pricing and they await receipts from customers. So basically, how overdraft works is the easiest way to example overdraft is that is a credit card in business. Okay, as an individual, maybe some of you have a credit card. Okay, so in business also we have a credit card in the form of overdraft. Okay, so same goes with the individual credit card. As an individual, when you want to have a credit card, you have to apply with the bank. Okay, same goes to overdraft. You have to apply with the bank. Okay, so when you apply with the bank, of course, the bank will check your background, especially financially. Okay, your income in terms of business, how well you do in your business, how much profit you could get, and etc. So if you can convince the bank that you have a stable business, so bank will approve your application for this overdraft. Okay, so the money will be put into your account, and of course in business is currently usually in current account lah, fixed deposit or whatever. Okay, so it's not saving account like individual lah. So So the money will be put in your account. So let's say the bank approve 100,000 based on your stability of your business, financial capabilities, etc. So after the bank has approved your application and the money has been put in your account, you only will be charged when you use the money. If you are not using the money, the bank will not charge you. Same goes with credit card as individu. Selagi you tak swipe, selagi itulah bank tak charge you. But once you swipe, buy something, Shopee ke whatever, the bank will charge you. Okay, same goes with overdraft. Okay, the procedure is the same. Okay, so that's overdraft lah. So here's some of the advantages and disadvantages of overdraft. Okay, the advantages of overdraft is offered to finance short-term cash. Okay, again, it's very useful, especially as I give a scenario just now when you, as a contractor, you rely on claim money, but the client pay a little bit late, but you have to pay your suppliers, you have to pay your workers' salaries, and etc. So perhaps you can use this overdraft to cover up first. Once you get the payment, so you can pay the bank the money that you use lah. And it is a flexible source of finance. Okay, interest calculated on daily basis. Okay, for this type of short-term source of finance, the interest is not fixed. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it is repayable on demand. Okay, and once you use it, the bank will ask you to pay. Kalau tak guna, tak bayar. Alright, the disadvantages of overdraft is that the cost of an overdraft will vary as interest rates change in the economy lah. Okay, because it's not a fixed interest rate. It depends on daily basis. Perhaps when you use it, the interest rate is quite high, so you have to pay for it. Okay, so you don't have a choice. Alright, if the bank decide the business is struggling or that a recession is coming, it may cut the overdraft limit without much notice. Okay, this can lead to a business failing. Alright, so this is the disadvantages of this overdraft lah. The bank can reduce the amount of money that has been approved before. Let's say just now the bank has approved 100k, but when looking to the current situation of the economy, recession, etc., and your business is struggling, the bank decided to reduce it to 50,000. Okay, so without much notice lah, that's the power of the bank. You cannot control that. Okay. And overdraft often secure on a personal guarantee from the owners and all the asset of business. Okay, so in this case, perhaps you need some sort like collateral, okay, cagaran. And if your company become bankruptcy, you can be sued by the bank lah if you use that overdraft money. Okay, so that's the first option that you have when we're talking about short-term sources of finance. Yeah.
For contractor company,
Mm-hmm.
is it they can use IPC for them to claim overdraft from bank, to apply for overdraft? Because somehow certain contractor, they are not chasing for the claim from the money, but they are chasing the IPC first, because they proclaim that IPC can be used to apply for bank overdraft.
Okay.
Biasanya lah, IPC tu macam doktor cakap tadi, cagaran kan?
Yes.
Seperti dokumen yang antara yang kuat untuk bank overdraft, if I'm not mistaken, is IPC lah. Betul tak tahu?
Practically, I'm not sure lah. But,
okay.
But if you said IPC is a strong document, perhaps some bank could accept it lah. Again, it depends on bank lah. Depends on the bank punya requirements lah. Okay?
Okay.
Alright. Okay. The next source of finance is short-term loan. Okay, again, duration varies from bank to bank between 1 to 3 years. Alright, normally 1 year lah. Okay. Basically, for the short-term loan, the interest rate are fixed on the issue of the loan. Okay, it is provided by banks for more specific use. Okay, for example, like to finance expensive stock item, etc. We want to buy an expensive stock item. Okay, for example, like perhaps IT IT requirements or IT products for your companies. Okay, so you can use this option. Okay, and basically the bank loans can be divided into 4 types. Okay, unsecured loans, secured loans, lines of credits, installment loans. Okay, for unsecured loans, this one you can apply without collateral, tanpa cagaran. Okay, but usually the amount is not that much lah, alright, compared to secured loan. Okay, when the amount, maybe certain banks is varies lah. Okay, maybe 100,000 you only need to give collateral, maybe even 10,000 you have to give collateral, depends on bank. Okay, and the method of payment for unsecured and secured loans is more in the form of lump sum. Okay, let's say you apply for secured loans with the bank for, let's say, 200k. Okay, and after 1 year you have to pay 220k, let's say, plus the interest lah. Okay, so it's more on the lump sum for unsecured loan and secured loans. Alright, lines of credits. I forgot about this one. It's quite similar with overdraft, I think, but the difference is that lines of credit is quite similar with overdraft. Okay, the difference is that it's either you use that money or not, the bank will still charge you. Okay, that's the difference between lines of credit and also overdraft just now. Okay, overdraft tadi selagi you tak sentuh duit tu, the bank will not charge you, but lines of credit, the bank will charge you even you didn't use that money. Okay, and the last one is installment loans as usual lah. Okay, you pay monthly for the 1 year duration. Okay. Alright, the next one is trade credit. Okay, this is the only loan option or sources of finance that interest free. Okay, the previous two tadi we are talking about obtaining loan from the bank. Of course, when we're talking about obtaining loan from the bank, there will be interest for it. Okay, it's either fixed or unfixed interest rate. But for trade credit, is a free, interest-free sources of finance that you can use in your business. Okay, what is trade credit? As I mentioned earlier, also called interest-free short-term lending. Okay, goods or services provided by suppliers without the requirement of an immediate cash payment. Okay, you buy a materials from suppliers, let's say bricks. Okay, and then the suppliers give you times for you to pay. So it means that you did not need to pay on time. Okay, once the product is delivered, let's say the suppliers give you 30 or 60 days after the delivery for you to pay to the suppliers. Okay, that's trade credit. So before, let's say the suppliers give you 60 days, okay, 2 months for you to pay for the materials that you purchase. Okay, so the money that you want to pay the supplier, you can use for other purpose first. Okay, so but when the times come, make sure you pay the exact time that has been agreed with the suppliers lah. Okay, because if you fail to pay on time, perhaps you are going to jeopardize your relationship. Perhaps the next time suppliers will ask you to pay on the dot. Okay, you cannot give trade credit, you cannot get trade credit anymore. Okay, so basically this type of sources of finance, okay, basically this type of sources of finance in terms of short term, you can get when you are a regular customer to the suppliers. Okay, when you already become a regular customer, you always buy the material from the suppliers, you gain the trust from the suppliers, so you can get this trade credit punya option. Alright, so you can use the money for other purpose before you pay the suppliers lah. And the last examples of short-term social finance is debt factoring. Okay. For example, like during the current recession, some larger construction companies has abused trade credit by delaying payments, making small companies to the brink of receivership. Therefore, factoring and invoice discounting important to suppliers. Okay, so perhaps as for example, like as a contractor, when you get a late payment from client, you don't have money to pay the suppliers, so you perhaps you not only jeopardize your relationship with the suppliers, as a suppliers also you'll be affected, because suppliers also need to run business. They need the money to run business, to pay their workers as well. So here we are talking about adopting debt factoring in this current situation, especially as a suppliers, if you afraid that you cannot get you cannot get the money on time. Okay, so in this case, you appoint what we call it as a factor agent. Okay, so the factor agent will buy the current unpaid invoices. Let's say you buy, you sell a material to the contractor. So let's say the invoice is 10,000. So you, as a suppliers, you sell the invoice to the factor agent with the discount, let's say 25%. Okay, so 25% around 7,000 plus lah. Okay, so factor agent will pay you 7,000 plus. So, and factor agent will chase your contractors just now, or your customer just now, to get the money lah. Okay, that's in general debt factoring. So never mind, next slide saya tunjuk more clear. Okay, in the form of diagram. Alright, and the concept of factoring is to delegate the collection of money to factoring company. As I said, you sell the invoice, you sell the debt of your customer to factoring company, to the third company. Okay, factor agent. Okay, can be bank, can be company persendirian yang jenis polis utang je. Alright, there are two types of factoring, okay, which are service factoring and also undisclosed factoring. Okay, first kita tengok, have a look on the service factoring. Okay, in normal business activities, there are two components involved. Okay, supplier and also customer. Okay, so supplier will sell the goods to the customer. Okay, as a supplier, you sell the goods to the customer. Okay, and when you sell the goods to the customer, you offer trade credit to the customer. Let's say you give customer 30 days for the customer to pay. Okay, the goods that has been sold to the customer. Okay, 30 hari, 30 days. But at the same time, you as a supplier, you are not that confident that you get the money on time. Okay, so perhaps suddenly you notice that your customer, your business, the business that has been run by your customer is quite struggling and so on. So you're afraid you cannot get the money within the 30 days. What you can do is that you can appoint factor agent. Okay, so in this case, you will sell the debt of your customer to the factor agent with the discount rate of 25%. Normally, yeah. Okay, 25%. Alright, so factor agent will pay the debt to the suppliers on due date. Katakan tadi, let's say 30 days. Alright, with the discount 25% lah. Okay, so bayar. So now when you get the payment, your relationship with the customer has been slashed up. Okay, so means that your customer will not pay to you anymore. It means that the factor agent will chase your customer to pay the money or the debts in full lah. Let's say 10,000 tadi, customer will pay 10,000 to the factor agent. So in this case, practically this source of finance is very useful if your profit margin is quite high. Okay, let's say your profit margin is 50%, 40% is quite high. Okay, you can use this debt factoring. But if your profit margin is quite small, it's not advisable for you to use this factoring lah. Okay, so if your profit margin is too small, if you use factoring, perhaps you'll not get a profit anymore. Okay, when you use factor agent lah, if you have a small profit margin. So this service factoring. Okay, so it's obvious. All right, and your customer also will realize that you have appointed a factor agent, and at the same time, perhaps in this case, your customers will lose confidence, will lose trust to buy a product for you anymore. Okay, because perhaps you as a customer, you think that your supplier didn't trust you, that you can pay on time. Okay, something like that. But however, in order to avoid that problem, you can apply undisclosed factoring. Okay, same approach, customer and supplier. Okay, supplier sell a good to the customer. Okay, and then we appoint factor agent. Sorry, this one mistake. Terbalik untuk supplier atas, customer bawah. Okay, sorry. Pasal. Okay, so nanti tukar. Nanti you change your notes. Supplier first. Okay. After that, supplier will sell the debt to the factory agent. But here, factory agent, let's say just now I give you example 30 days, 30 hari. Factory agent will pay the debt. At the same time, will appoint you as an agent to collect the debt. So in this case, we hide the factory agent. The supplier will hide the factory agent. So means that customer still need to pay to the supplier. And once the supplier get the money, the supplier will pay to the factory agent. Okay, so that's the difference between service factoring and undisclosed factoring. So here more reasonable to use lah, whereby you hide the factory agent. Okay, your customer will not realize that you appoint factory agent. So again, you can still maintain your relationship with your customer. Okay, so that's how debt factoring works lah. Okay, so it's either service factoring and also undisclosed factoring. As I mentioned earlier, it's good to practice this debt factoring when you have a high profit margin. Okay, a big profit margin. It's not advisable for you to use when you have a small profit margin. Okay, so here the advantages and disadvantages of debt factoring. Okay, for the advantages, the business receive cash upfront and can use this money to fund expansion and working capital needs more generally. Okay, so again, as a suppliers in this case, the person that really need money, of course, it is supplier. So when they get money on time, so they can use their money to run their business. And in addition, the administration cost to the business of chasing up customers is immediately removed lah. Once you appoint factory agent, so it's not your job anymore to chase your customers, except you use undisclosed factoring lah. So the disadvantages is that this business is really giving up some of its profit margin by doing this lah, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so if the company making 50% profit margin, giving away 20% of the sales value may be acceptable, but not if the business is only making a small margin, as I mentioned earlier. Equally, factoring will not help very small businesses and those with very marginal and local clients lah. So again, we want to maintain a good relationship with our clients, with our customers. And also remember that the factory agent ringing up your biggest customer and demanding immediate payment. Okay, so maybe you could lose vital sales in the future lah. Okay, again, you have option, you can use undisclosed factoring lah in order to maintain the relationship with your customer or client. Okay, so that's short-term sort of sources of finance. Okay, that's some of examples lah. Okay, next we have a look on the long-term finance. Okay, so long-term markets are sometimes called capital market and consist of securities having maturities of greater than 1 year. Okay, so as long as it's more than 1 year, we can consider as a long-term finance. Right, there are two categories or two types of long-term finance, which are, the first one is ownership capital and the second one is debt capital. Okay, and for ownership capital, it can be divided into three: ordinary share, preference share, and retained earnings. And while debt capital is example is long-term loan lah. There are other things. There are a few other examples, but here I just show you a few examples only. Okay, for ownership capital, share capital represent the monies that are put into a company by investors, okay, who are then classified as shareholders. Okay, it should be used for long-term needs such as purchasing machines or computer system or acquiring businesses lah. Again, remember the rule of thumb in business, long-term finance should be used for long-term needs lah. So in this case, when you get money from investors, it should be used to achieve a long-term targets. Okay, and it can be divided into three: okay, ordinary share capital, preference shares, and retained earnings or retained profit. Okay, firstly, we have looked on the comparison between ordinary and preference share capital. Okay, the difference between these two. Alright, for ordinary shares, finally injected by shareholders and represent ownership of a companies. Okay, and for preference shares, it just represent ownership in the company. Okay, and for ordinary share, they have a voting right because they have become shareholders. Okay, and they can vote at annual general meeting in AGM. Okay, so they can have a say on the company's operating and financial policies. Meanwhile, for preference shares, they don't have non-voting right, but they can give suggestion, but still the ordinary share can ignore their suggestion. For ordinary share issued with no stated dividends, okay, the amount of dividend paid on ordinary shares is not fixed. Okay, it depends. Okay, sometimes they can get a lot. Sometimes they also can get anything. Sometimes they also didn't get anything as well. Okay, depends because meanwhile, preference shares issued with stated dividend, fixed rate or dividend determined by articles of associations. Okay, so there is some sort of agreement every year. The preference shares will be paid 10% in dividend, okay, for example. So as a shareholders, you have to obey that. Okay, you have to make sure that you need to pay 10% of your profits or dividend to the preference shares. Okay, so you can benefit from the growth in profitability of the company. Okay, so if the company make a lot of profits, ordinary shares will get the benefits, while the preference share will cannot get benefits because they have agreed in terms of the amount or rate of dividend that has been agreed before. Okay, and participate in the profit after the preference shares. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, when you get a profit from your business, you need to pay the preference share first. Okay, the balance will go to the ordinary share if there is a balance. Okay, but if there is no balance, of course, you will lose lah in terms of ordinary share. Okay, in terms of this capital of business, if business fails, the ordinary share is the first to lose lah. Okay, while the preference shares are backed up with preference claims on the asset in the event of liquidation or bankruptcy. Okay, the preference share will have the right to claim the assets if the company is bankrupt. Right. The next categories of ownership capital is retained earnings. Okay, this is one of the most important sources of business finance. Okay, because it represents the profit generated from sales after interest payments to lenders, taxes to the governments, and payments to shareholders in the forms of dividends. Okay, the remaining profit is then retained or put back into the business and available for future spending by the organization. Okay, so this is most of the companies I can say terlepas pandang lah. Alright, so retained earnings is basically your net profit, untung bersih. Alright, after you pay everything, okay, you pay your loans, you pay your taxes to the government, you pay shareholders the dividend and so on, you have balance. Okay, and that's what we call it as a retained profit, whereby that balance of money you can put back into the business. Okay, not use that money to buy new car or buy a new house. Okay. So the advantages of this retained profit is that there are no associated borrowing costs and that businesses do not see a rise in the debt levels. It means that if you put the retained profit into your business, it's not related with the banks, so no interest whatsoever. Okay, so the owner's control is not diluted and the decisions are not vetted by lenders lah. Again, It's not related with the bank, so you have your own control of your retained profit. What you want to use for your retained profit, whether you want to reinvest, or you want to buy a new share for your business, and etc. Okay, while the disadvantages of retained earnings is that the owner may take out all the organization's spare cash, and there will be no buffer if the business suddenly needs cash or another market opportunity arises. Okay, as I mentioned earlier lah. Okay, you use that money for your own agenda, for your own satisfaction. Okay, without considering for business expansion and so on. Alright, there may be no outsiders to be accountable to, especially small and family-run businesses with no outside shareholders. Okay, if you're a family business, of course, nobody can argue if you want to use that money to buy a new car or whatsoever. Right? Right. The next type of long-term finance is debt capital. Okay, here we are talking about long-term finance lah. Okay, long-term loan. Okay, funding provided by outside banks and lenders is generally referred to as debt or loan capital. Okay, it is usually provided for a fixed period of time, okay, with repayments evenly spread out over the length of the loan. Okay, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Okay, loan capital is provided for more than 1 year. Okay, so it's called that's why it's called as a long-term form of finance. Okay, for example, like we have a mortgage if we buy an asset for the companies. Okay, buy land, office. All right, so we loan up to 15 years, for example. Okay, as asset besides lands or office, we can also use long-term loan to buy plants and machineries. Okay, it can be debentures, bonds, or loose stock. Okay, for example, like in construction project, we have bonds with the banks. Okay, this part of also part of long-term source of finance as well. Right, the advantages of long-term loan is that it is often easier to access and use for specific purposes, like buying fixed assets such as machines or property. Okay, payment is spread out over the useful revenue earning life of the asset. If the loan has a fixed interest rate and interest rate rise in the future, the loan could be a very smart investment lah. Okay, so again, you need to forecast what will happen in future in terms of the interest rate and so on. Is it good to get a fixed interest rate or not for that kind of investment, for that kind of loan? Okay. The disadvantages is that lenders have to be paid even if the business does not make a profit. Okay. Again, when you lend money from the bank, you have still need to pay, except when you got moratorium lah. Okay. Any default can lead to the lender controlling future decision making. In fact, they call the shots lah. Okay, they can seize your asset and etc. Okay, equally, if the loan is secured against an asset, then the asset can be seized if payments are missed. Okay, if the loans have fixed interest rate and interest rate fall, the business may find itself with a very undesirable loan. There is a burden on the business. Okay, again, there is a pro and con if you apply for fixed interest rate. Okay, maybe in the future suddenly the interest has fall down. Okay, perhaps it's not good for your business. And however, large and very profitable organization may be able to renegotiate terms with lenders lah. Again, we are looking at the flexibility of the loan. Okay, can you negotiate with the bank to extend your loan and so on. Okay, so that's generally what is sources of finance that we have lah. There are many lah. That's among of them. Okay, it can be short term or long term source of finance. Okay, again, make sure when you want to choose the source of finance, make sure that you have to have a look on the needs of the loan itself lah. Whether you want to use for the short term needs or long term needs lah. Okay. Alright, the last part is hedging principles. Okay, this is quite simple. Okay, just want to introduce to you what is hedging principle actually. Okay, what is hedging principle in general? Okay, the best way to understand hedging is to think of it as insurance. Okay, as individual, we can apply for life insurance and etc. In business also, we have an insurance in the form of hedging. principles. And of course, there are companies that will buy their own insurance, etc. This one is another forms of technique that you can use in keluar pula perkataan dia. In make sure that you can save your business. Okay, so
Sort of protection, boss.
yes,
Boss, doctor. Protection,
yes, some sort like protection,
Hmm.
right? So as you can see in the second point, when people decide to hedge or when business decide to hedge, they are insuring themselves against a negative event. Okay, so this doesn't prevent a negative event from happening, but if it does happen and you are properly hedged, the impact of the event is reduced. Okay, that's the main objective of hedging principles. Okay, it's not avoiding the problems. Okay, it's not preventing the problems from happening. Okay, for example, like recession, we cannot run from recession; it will happen. Okay, but if you properly hedge, it can reduce the impact of recession itself. Okay. So generally, this is the hedging financing strategy. Okay, this is the way you are managing your asset in your companies lah. Again, in this hedging principle, we are talking about cash in hand. Okay, because in difficult situation, cash is very important. Okay, that's why in business you need to make sure that you have a reasonable level of liquidity. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, asset that you can sell within a year. Okay, you boleh cairkan aset tu, convert into cash, and you can use that cash to put in other marketable securities investment. Okay, so that's the idea of hedging principles. Okay, so the way it works is more relate on the liquidity level in your organization or business. So basically, there are two strategies of hedging. Okay, aggressive and also conservative. Okay, so these strategies of hedging will give impacts to the profit, cost, and also risk. Okay, as shown in this table. Okay, so if you're taking a common hedging principles, is a common practice. Means that you are not doing anything; you just go with the flow. Okay. Everything will be moderate in terms of cost, profit, and risk. But if you're taking a conservative strategy, the cost is quite high, the profit is low, but the risk for your companies to collapse is also low. Okay, compared to aggressive. Okay, if you aggressive, you langgar je. Okay, cost dia rendah, profit will be high, but the risk for your company to collapse also high. Okay, that's the pro and con when you adopt this hedging strategies in your business. Okay, so in conclusion, hedging principle basically states that ideally short-term users of funds should be financed from short-term source of funds, and long-term users of funds should be financed from long-term source of funds lah. This is the rule of thumb in business lah. So you cannot miss around in terms of short-term and also long-term finance. Okay, so that's all for my part. The theoretical part of this ICP 183. Okay, after this, you will have a discussion next week for your group assignment, okay, which you need to submit on, if I'm not mistaken, week 7, right? Week 7 you have to submit your assignment, and then starting from week 6, Dr. Juliana will take over, and you will learn more detail about financial management lah, in terms of calculation things lah. Okay, how to evaluate project, how to assess which project is more profitable to your companies, etc. That kind of thing that you are going to learn with Dr. Juliana. Okay, for today's lecture, any things you want to raise, want to share, experience, want to ask anything? If I can answer, I will answer accordingly.
Betul tak yang saya copy paste? Sorry, kacau. Pasal hedging, I think it's happening at 2008. Kau ingat tak?
Jap.
Paket harga rumah jatuh kat US. So this one guy nama
Michael Burry ni.
Yup, nama dia apa jap? I try ingat. Yes, Michael Berry. Betul tak doktor? Which is dia pakai hedging method, dia pakai duit capital company yang dia kerja. Dia kata I will buy an insurance. Insurance ni akan against kalau harga rumah jatuh, which is waktu tu harga rumah belum jatuh.
Okay.
US never tak pernah happening yang harga rumah boleh jatuh.
Okay.
So dia against that thing, so dia kena bayar premium lah, which is 1 billion dia punya betting lah.
Okay.
But dia punya untung suddenly as 2008 memang harga rumah jatuh kat US. So dia punya untung berapa lah? 489% daripada 1 billion. Doktor kira lah. Saya just ingat bila doktor cerita saya ni, saya teringat cerita ni lah.
Oh, okay.
Yang
I know about
Batman.
2008 is a recession time lah, 2008,
Yes.
2009, not only US, but it's new knowledge for me lah yang pasal housing market jatuh kat US ni.
Yes.
Sebab kat Malaysia ni pun tak jatuh-jatuh.
Bakal je.
Bakal dah berapa lama saya dengar bakal tapi but current condition, I think price of house, housing prices kat Malaysia, I think akan jatuh juga lah ni. Dalam masa
bagi bubble effect, I think macam banyak rumah tak ada orang duduk, banyak orang tak ada rumah nak duduk. This is happening lah actually.
It's happening, and again when we're talking about housing market in Malaysia, of course there are certain people that control that lah.
Betul.
Yang benda-benda yang sensitif sikit lah. Okay?
Betul. Tak perlu dibincang lah.
Ya. Faham sendirilah. Especially Kelang Beleh, Lembah Kelang, harga rumah ridiculous.
Betul.
Okay, anyone nak share anything lagi about social finance? There are many option lah sebenarnya in terms of social finance. I share tadi just a few je lah. Banyak lagi macam, for example like short term finance, kita ada macam bill of exchange, letter of credit, something like that. Itu untuk export punya business lah, especially untuk letter of credit. When you want to buy something from overseas, sometimes dia bagi letter credit before we pay to the bank lah, kind of thing. So far progress assignment okay?
Ya, gitu-gitu lah.
Gitu-gitu lah.
Balik insyaAllah ada.
Kita buat dia.
Citation macam mana doktor? For citation.
Tak dengar?
For citation untuk doktor punya, kira orang cakap macam mana, doktor punya benchmark lah untuk citation tu. Untuk citation dalam adakah doktor sangat particular about citation, maknanya every ayat tu kita kena cite. Saya punya problem ialah citation lah. Because bukan sebab suka copy and paste, but citation tu a little bit kadang kita explain pakai ayat sendiri pun nak cite ke. Your opinion lah doktor and your benchmark.
Okay. If you need to cite, of course you need to cite. Even citation ni kan sebenarnya bukan you baca somewhere tapi you tulis guna ayat you still need to cite. Okay, you still need to cite even you use your own words, sebab if you copy 100% daripada journal ke whatever, daripada book, so you copy 100% ayat tu, you cite juga, katakan Reza 2020, still consider plagiarism tak? Walaupun you cite. So means that you kena rephrase ayat tersebut and you still need kena cite lah. Okay, but I'm not that particular in terms of citation ni lah, especially for assignment. Just for assignment kan. Kalau dissertation lain, dissertation memang saya particular lah. Kalau untuk for assignment tak tu sangat lah, just janji ada cukup lah. But assignment is not dissertation yang kena particular about citation dan sebagainya.
Doktor, untuk service factoring ni, bila saya diorang ada fee dia sendiri ya? They have their own fee or they just makan profit daripada customer?
Apa ni, fee dia tu dalam bentuk dia ambil daripada invoice tu lah.
Di mana dah ada certain percentage lah.
Yes, percentage lah. Of course dia pun nak untung juga factory agent ni kan. That's why saya cakap tadi factoring ni tak sesuai kalau bisnes kita small margin.
How to choose factory agent ni, dia memang widely open lah. Sebab saya punya company tak pernah guna factory agent. Margin tak pernah besar macam tu.
Factory agent kat Malaysia ni ada, tapi I'm not sure widely used ke tak. Tapi dekat European memang banyak guna factory agent ni. Kat Malaysia ni I'm not sure dia widely used ke tak. Sebab
Doktor, dia, if I'm not mistaken lah, dia panggil trading punya company tau. Dia
trading.
I rasa dia pakai trading. If I'm not mistaken, doktor, dia saya purchase dengan kas kan. Saya purchase dengan supplier.
Okay.
Saya bagi dekat kas tu, kas tu nak order barang lah. Tapi saya markup 3% macam tu lah. Faham tak? Rasa macam tu. Tapi saya bayar dengan supplier.
Itu
bayar
trading
saya.
lain.
Betul
kalau
lah kas.
Daripada yang Dr. SK ni, dia memang satu badan, satu agensi yang
satu agensi.
ada alung.
Oh, alung.
Dia alung.
Dia macam alung ceti semua tu lah.
Dia agensi yang kutip wang. Tapi lah
I'm not mistaken, memang dekat Malaysia is not being widely used lah. Dekat European companies, European countries banyak dah guna ni. Malaysia ni maybe sebab tak banyak company untung besar lah ya. Tak ada lah.
And then how they choose this agent ni? Dia macam ada certain company ke, macam consultancy punya company ke kan? How they choose kan? Pula. And then how trustable pula si factory agent ni pula kan? Dia pula tolak duit.
Dia pula tak bayar kat kita lah. It's option lah. Cuma I'm not sure kat Malaysia ni widely used ke tak. Maybe ada tapi tak berapa guna sangat pun.
Yang ada macam my company using is dipanggil facilities. Yang tu memang kita kena bayar juga dengan dia. Yang kata collateral tu, kita guna dia punya services, kita kena bayar bulan-bulan dekat dia. Macam ceti jugalah, tapi dia tak kutip hutang. Whatever yang kita dapat payment tu akan masuk dalam account ni, dia akan potong siap-siap. That's facilities lah, bank facilities. So monthly tu dah 20 juta dah kena bayar kat dia. Dapat payment dia tetap kena bayar dia 20 juta. Itu pun tak tahu macam mana company make money lah. Fikir-fikir kita tak make money pun.
Ada lagi? Siapa? Ni senyap ini ke ada ke tak ada di belakang, di balik kamera ni?
Doktor?
Yeah.
Just nak macam tanya je lah. Most of the financing ni kan, dia more towards conventional yang I rasa lah, yang saya rasa lah. So dia macam if people tak boleh bayar, dia tak ada some sort of way untuk resolve, macam solve that problem, kecuali moratorium je lah. Sekarang ni je kita rasa macam dapat macam Islamic kind of thing, moratorium. Tapi kalau selain daripada tu, dia still it's like a capitalism, macam capitalist punya apa macam framework of financing lah. Yang
Kita kena akui banking system kita ni memang bukan kita yang 100% control lah. Okay, let's say macam for example like kita ada option nak ambil Islamic loan katakan. Is it really Islamic?
Itulah. It's just dia just macam bukanlah membersihkan nama, membersihkan dia punya prosedur lah. Tapi belum betul-betul that kind of Islamic.
Itulah, itu masalahnya. Kita benda especially macam banking system ni kita memang dah terikat dengan kuasa besar kan. So whether we like it or not, kita kena follow lah. Okay, as macam Islamic, I think the different conventional loan dengan Islamic loan yang setahu saya is just the cap of the interest BLR tu. Okay. Contoh kalau suddenly BLR naik tinggi 15% ke, Islamic loan dia ada cap sampai 10 je boleh pergi. Kalau more than that kita tak perlu bayar. Tapi kalau conventional loan tinggi-tinggilah kena bayar. Tapi still ada interest juga. So di mana Islamic ni?
But dia tak ada macam satu solution if orang tu tak boleh bayar. At least ada macam satu alternatif, dia tak payah interest dah. Dia okay lah, you just pay this. Macam APK tu pun still takkan bagi that option. Dia still akan
jangan berharap. Kalau kita tak boleh bayar memang sampai mufis lah kita dibuat je.
Betul.
Itu dia punya that's how it works lah Ben. Okay. Even kalau dia dia still make profit even though dia ada moratorium 6 bulan ni kan. Dia antara sektor yang sentiasa, if you have friends kerja bank, tanyalah berapa sebulan, setahun berapa bulan bonus. So it's quite difficult lah to change our banking system.
Okay, thank you Doctor. Just ponder and wonder.
Yeah. I got your idea, but again, it's difficult lah. Benda macam tu. Ya, Mazli.
Doktor. Ya betul. Doktor, yang under ordinary share ni kan dia ada by voting kan, voting rights. So voting ni sebenarnya daripada investor ke? Daripada shareholder tu?
Daripada shareholders lah.
Dia akan vote, dia kiranya ramai, so dia akan vote dia punya macam mana? Doktor boleh terangkan tak dia punya voting tu?
So basically in big companies, they will have their own annual general meeting. Setahun sekali dia akan meeting, dan in voting right, maybe in terms of they want to make a certain decision. Maybe there are new opportunities for them to invest, let's say. Maybe ada some of them didn't agree, some of them agree. So from there they can vote lah. Look at by looking at majority, siapa yang agree to vote to proceed with the investment, then kita tengoklah decision dia. That's one of the example lah when we're talking about voting system. Okay, maybe ada new investment coming up. Okay, it's either we want to buy a new product or we want to invest more on the current product, that kind of thing. Okay, yang kita boleh bincangkan dalam masa AGM, ataupun you want to appoint a new CEO ke, right? So that kind of thing. That's some of the example when we talking about voting lah. Okay, Mazlia ni.
Okay.
Right.
Means doktor, kalau ordinary, maksudnya dia ada two cases. First, untuk long term staff yang company bagi dia share, a part of share. Tapi you tak ada power untuk voting. You just, okay, share ni you punya. If
Itu
ada
under
dividend,
preference share lah.
tu under preference lah.
Yes.
Kalau yang beli buat trading tu doktor, yang go for bursa saham, beli saham semua tu,
Itu
it's a
preference share.
lah.
Preference
Okay.
share.
Okay, thank you doktor.
Sebab dia tak ada right untuk vote apa. Main saham ke ni?
Main saham? Boleh lah.
Boleh lah. Okay.
Amanah Saham Berhad. ASB.
Amanah Saham Berhad dah tak untung sekarang.
Mana-mana bolok tu tak untung kan. Doktor tengok construction daripada singgit 8 sen jatuh 3 sen, 2 sen.
Itulah.
Kat mana?
Kecuali beli Gamuda lah. Kecuali beli Gamuda lah.
Gamuda berapa sekarang?
Habis MRT nak buat apa kak?
Gamuda teruk.
Yelah kan habis
Saya dah
MRT
beli
nak buat apa?
Saya tak dapat dah.
Tak dapat dah.
Well,
Dapat doktor.
hopefully early next year construction industry will bounce back lah. I think.
Amin. Doakan doktor.
I think lah. Tengoklah belanjawan Jumaat ni. Macam mana?
Nak tengok apa nak kena pula Jumaat ni kan.
But because for your information basically macam especially for developing countries like Malaysia lah. Alright, when we face economic problem like recession currently, they are going to use construction industry to boost the economy.
Betul.
That's one of the way. Okay.
Amin.
Construction dan bonus. Construction dengan bonus orang kerajaan.
Bonus orang kerajaan.
Dia untuk rolling dia KDNK. Dia nak rolling income dalam negeri.
Amin, dapatlah bonus. Sebelum ni bantuan dia dapat. Bonus tak ada pun. Dah lama tak dapat bonus. So basically that's the way lah construction. One of the way the government want to manipulate our economy to boost our economy is by using construction industry because kita punya size yang besar. Kita boleh give a lot of impacts. That's why masa last recession 2008-2009 kan, masa tu zaman Datuk Seri Najib PM. That's why you nampak dia banyak projects on MRT and so on. Previously masa 98, 99.
Sama juga.
KLIA,
KCC.
Yes, and one of the strategies is we became a host for Commonwealth Games.
Yes,
98. So because recession ni kita boleh predict 10 to 15 years dia akan rolling, dia akan pusing. So before face recession ni sepatutnya dah ada plan lah apa nak buat. So sebab current government kan tak berapa stable enough lah. So that's why they afraid to make decision. I don't know. Kita tengok je lah belanjawan ni Jumaat ni macam mana. Sama ada disokong atau tak disokong. Alright, any more?
Saya nak tanya soalan exam boleh tak?
Soalan exam nak tanya apa tu?
Saya ada tengok, tak tengok semualah tapi ada soalan ni dia tanya as a project manager you must create a project plan first then build and estimate the budget from the plan.
Okay.
Explain the requirement that you need to follow in preparing the budget for your organisation. Yang ni kita boleh refer slide hari ni punya ke?
Itu soalan bila tu?
This one December 19.
December 19. Saya buat tu.
Okay.
Itu last week punya lecture.
Last week punya, okay.
Last week punya lecture. Bahagian mana?
Satu lagi. Illustrate the budget process involving all level. Kalau tengok yang ni kan ni yang first lecture kan untuk process of budgeting.
Yes.
Tapi nak illustrate tu maksudnya macam mana? Illustrate nak kita orang lukis, nak explain macam mana?
Illustrate
budget process involving all level in organisation.
Terangkan je skop ya. Tak perlu lukis. Maybe term sesalah itu.
Alright, okay.
Terangkan je.
Okay, clear.
Okay. Soalan saya, exam ada 2 jawab 1. Yes, 2 jawab 1.
Part A, part doktor kan?
Part saya, part A, part saya. Tapi macam last semester, because we are ODL kan, online. Last semester, what we did with I and also Dr. Leona did is that we conduct a first exam. I think in week, masa tu week berapa dia week 11 or 12 kot. Dia buat satu soalan exam pertama, paper A lah, let's say paper A. Combine soalan saya dengan soalan dia. Okay, then masa exam week, soalan dia saja, Dr. Juliana saja.
Dr. Ju banyak part calculation doktor kan?
Yes.
Calculation saja kan?
Dia, in total bagian ni you kena jawab 3 soalan.
Betul.
So maybe masa paper A tu nanti satu soalan saya, satu soalan dia. Nanti masa paper B, paper 2 nanti semua soalan dia, 2 soalan dia.
Okay.
Nanti kita akan maklumkan balik lah. If macam tu lah prosesnya semester ni juga, I will let you know lah. Awalnya tanya soalan exam.
Tak ada, go through je lah.
Okay.
Doktor, nak tanya, budgeting ni is the same as cost planning kalau in construction tu, yang prepared by QS tu?
More or less is quite similar lah.
Okay. Macam development cost that developed by the developer?
Pun boleh.
Development cost pun boleh juga?
Pun boleh juga. More or less.
Boleh dikira budgeting?
Yes.
Alright. Thank you. Okay.
Development cost kan? Boleh. Okay, anything else? Kalau tak ada, we stop here. And then just want to remind you, next week there is no lecture. Okay, there will be I will give you time for you to discuss among your group members to finalize your assignment. Okay, but still you have to take your attendance in your future. Okay, same process lah. You need to go to your future and go to online class and click take your attendance. Okay, sama proses yang sama. Walaupun maybe you nak discuss hari lain ke, hari Sabtu ke apa ke, whatever, tapi on that day, Wednesday night tu, you still kena ambil attendance on that day lah. Okay, so anything you want to ask about assignment or the subject, past exam questions ke whatever, later on, we can communicate with the group, within the group lah. Okay, WhatsApp group, okay, tak ada masalah. Alright.
Doktor, sorry banyak tanya.
Tak apa.
Because Syaira dah tanya pasal exam Pak Doktor, and then we talking about our assignment. So basically saya calculate weightage doktor punya part dalam 30 to 40%. Exactly 40%. Assignment
saya 15,
okay. Part
exam 25. So 40 lah, betul lah.
40 Pak Doktor lah. And then another 60% Doktor Ju. Okay.
Dia akan ada test 2 test kot saya, tak silap saya dia buat.
Thank you Doktor.
Alright.
Adam, nanti share dekat group. Nanti share dekat group.
Group mana tu?
Group besar lah.
Group besar, okay.
Share apa tu?
Weightage.
Oh, weightage. Rasanya dalam slide introduction tu saya ada letak kot. Nanti
dalam slide tu tak ada, tapi tak ada macam yang Adam tadi tu je lah. Okay, berapa persen mana kan. Memang
cuma dalam slide
untuk assignment.